Da, 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 da. What is that? Hold on 1 second, people. I am Tommy, and you are on the Lifeboat. What's happening? I appreciate your patience. I really appreciate your patience. Spanx Calhoun is working on a migraine. So any thoughts and prayers we could give for the captain, I would really appreciate the heck out of that. Hope Between the Dreams is here. Caradish, how are you? Rick Spicer, Cindy G, Sandy Wandy, Blessed to Crochet. Mary, you know what? An old video came up on my as a recommended video for me to watch a long time ago, and there were comments. I was looking at the I didn't even click on it. It was just the next in the queue, and I was watching your name and some of the names of the other people, and I was like, damn, people really have been here a very long time. You guys are the best. Really appreciate you. So this is going to be a fun one, people, because anything goes, and I mean that. Jane Aldrich, Caitlin, how are you? Life is a dream. And Cindy, how you doing? Horton Thistle, what's happening, my man? Good to see you, Wharton. Arwa, how are you? You know something, people? I'm going to tell you the truth. The most fun I ever had doing YouTube, and it's fantastic when you got 2,500 people or 8,000. We once had 8,300 or something in a chat, and it's exciting as hell watching it go up really fast, and all the chats and all that. But the best shows I ever did, the stuff where we really got stuff done, had about 30 people in it. We did a lot of them. I did years with and these it's intimate. Wharton, you're up early. You know what? For me, it's a little bit late. My boy wanted to do this so bad, you have no idea. Flick Fox, good to see you. But the problem is, he really was hurting, and he's like, you know what? Do you have any advice? I was like, don't do the show. That would be my advice. You don't do that. KP in Arizona, good to see you. That's right, brother from another mother. It's a beautiful day out there. I don't know if you've been out. Hey, Marmalade Atkins. This time of year where I live, this is absolute bliss. You cannot imagine how nice it is in Tucson, Arizona this time of year. It's ridiculous. Marmalade Atkins, love the name. One of my favorite things on earth, by the way. One of my favorite things. Bayou Babe, good to see you. The Maple Puffs were incredible. Do you know why you hadn't heard about them? Because I was trying to not let Johnny Scoville know that they were in the house, to be really honest with you. The Maple things, those are mine. Anything Maple, I'm just not sharing that with my brother. I know that probably sounds really awful, but he eats tons of peppers. He doesn't share those with me. About 5 days ago. Wow. How about this? I hope that the questioning thing is, how did I pull that off? Not why did I pull that off, right? You don't want to do that. Trust me. Great call, man. In fact, let's do it. What the heck? I don't know that we've given this out too often for turning down free dope, but that is worthy of the Lifeboat participation trophy. That's amazing stuff. How good did that feel? Tell me the truth. That's an amazing feeling, isn't it? I remember very distinctly the first time, hey, Jeremy Fowler, the first time I had the opportunity to turn something down. Carnosol, Roberta, Yadira, good to see you. The first time that I had a shot at turning something down was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. So I'm in prison and I'm sober, and we sit in plastic chairs, right? In your room, you have plastic chairs, and the fellas will tape sheets, or not sheets, but blankets. They'll cut into squares and put them on the feet so that they don't click and make a lot of noise when you're putting them on the floor. Some people use tennis balls and cut holes in them and put them there. Hello, Kathy. But I was taking those off because they were disgusting and they had dust and stuff. It was years worth of tape catching all of this crap. So I was cutting all of these off to put new stuff on. And on the fourth one, right? On the fourth one, I cut into it, and a big old clavo of white paper that was taped fell out. And it was locked down. It was nighttime. I was locked in my cell. There was nobody else in there. And I remember my heart started to race, and I was like, there was a quick prayer. Let this be meth, right? Let this be blow. Don't have this be an opiate, right? I was probably 3 or 4 years in and not real solid, to be honest with you. Matrix Rabbit, good to see you. Hello, Anna, Paula Pendley, good to see you. And sure as hell, it was tar. And the tar had, hope I'm not triggering anybody, but if you leave tar around long enough, it turns to like a powder. It looks like sand almost. And if you breathe on it, it'll instantly go back to powder. But when it gets really dry, and I opened it and I looked down at it, and I remember in like that quick split second, I tossed the entire thing into the crapper, right into the toilet, the paper and all of it, and I hit the flush. And then I hit it again because I could totally see myself sticking my hand up that to try to get it back. For real, like that's where I was. That's the spot of my life where I was at. But and then I got really angry at myself. Right, I was sitting in there going, "My God, why did you do that?" Right, there wasn't enough to get addicted, and I started talking myself into why didn't I do this? Right, why didn't I do this? I could have done this. Right, yeah, it's pretty sad. I have been cranking out some content, Kathy. Although you got a little bit of you got a break because I took almost 3 days off, 2.5 days off. You're apparently addicted to YouTube channels. Took a break for about a week as on vacation, and it was killing me. But honestly, all this Diddy stuff involving minors can be very depressing. Boy, you are not kidding. You're just stoked that you don't have to read through all of it. I mean, honestly, if you start pouring through the firsthand accounts, some of it is just awful. Lionel B. I don't shout out channels very often, but Lionel B. has been a guest several times on the Sean Atwood program. He's an excellent YouTuber. He really is. He does great stuff. And he had a interview the other day it's going to be a 4-part series, but he put the first one up. I would recommend that you all check it out. It's, by the way, before you do, trigger warning, it's the toughest interview I've watched so far having anything to do with this. It's really, really, it's hard, but it's worth it because it gives you an idea of really just how hard this is, man. Yeah, Jeremy, this stuff can break a man. And I have friends that do what we do, right? That do what I do for a living who have bailed. Just said, I'm not doing any more of it. It's killing me. James Collins, good to see you. Honestly, if you ever happen to run a channel, right? Listen up. This is the greatest advice. And if somebody had given it to me early on in my career, I would be a completely different person. I promise I'd be in a different place in my life. When I step out of YouTube, I step out of YouTube. I really do. I take the suit off. I drop it in there, right? Like the one-piece Tyvek suit that zips up the front. I drop it on the ground, and I walk away. And it's not to say I walk away from you guys. It's just that I walk away from. You can get stuck watching the same stuff that you talk about, right? All day long, watching the same stuff you talk about, and that will drive you insane. I promise it will. I promise it will. Matrix, thoughts and prayers with you, and anyone else who needs them. I love that. Millie the Dandelion, good to see you. You know what, Millie, you're awesome. You really are. Millie's awesome. Got a lot of new people on the other side of the pond. I'm really stoked about that. I really am. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to have. You know what? I'll be honest with you. I was surprised when I heard it. I was very surprised when I heard it. Hey, Gail in South Africa. I would never do that. I would never do that. You want to take my content and do something to knock yourself out? I don't care. It's not something I'm ever going to do. But for me, I understand that, if you have something and it's exclusively yours, you want everybody to come to you to watch it. I have found since I started doing this that the more you give crap away, the bigger you get. The more you just try to help people and do things with everybody, the bigger you get. Do you know that the first time we went on Surviving the Survivor, we were bigger than they were? No joke. Like and I remember at the time, like I had people say to me, no, you'd never go on a channel that's smaller than you. I'm like, yeah, you talk to the people. And if they're damn good at what they do, of course you do, right? I knew he was going to blow up. I knew Joel was going to go absolutely through the roof. He's just a very talented guy. Surviving the Survivor is great. Wow. How good is this? I finally stood up to some people in some major ways, including putting some very tough things to say out there in writing to very higher ups. Did it feel fantastic? Nothing like taking power back, is there? And I'll tell you something, we suffer from this, right? This is something all of us have to deal with on the regular, for real. being addicts. Hello, Robin Miners. Being addicted to anything, by the way. If you're sitting here right now going, I've never been addicted to drugs. Oh, I promise you, you're addicted to something. We live in a world today where, unlike any other time, hello, Barbara Aldrich, any other time on planet Earth, we have companies out there whose main mission is to deliver you dopamine, right? Think about it. There are companies who are hired as consultants to come in and tell the people that do the news how to ensure that there's enough dopamine hits while they're giving you the news so that you don't leave. Oh, Anna, feel free to, I would never want to mess with anybody taking a souffle out of the oven. You knock that out. You knocked that out. And thank you for spending time with us in spite of really good food being laid out there. You know what, James Collins? James Collins says there's so many great people here. I love y'all. I do too. I really do. My day's been wonky. Can't seem to get it together today, but trying. We all have those days. We all have those days. So let's get back real quickly to this addiction thing, right? I have people that email me a lot, and they will give me a description of their life. You know, they'll say, I drink 4 beers a day. On weekends, I might drink 12. I've been doing this thing. Give me like a sort of a blow by blow on their drug consumption or their alcohol consumption or whatever it is. And then they say, am I an addict? Am I an addict? Above my pay grade. You know what I mean? I'm definitely not in the business to tell people that they're drug addicts or not drug addicts. It's not my get down. Absolutely not going to do it because you can't, right? You can't. I couldn't if I was sitting in the room with them. And you think to yourself, oh, come on, Tommy. If the guy's been drinking every day for 7 months and he's doing a half a fifth a day or whatever he told you, of course he's an addict. No, he's dependent on alcohol, but we won't know if he's an addict until he stops drinking. You understand the concept? Huh? Tell you what, you want to see it in action? Take the cell phone away from your kid or your grandkid. Tell them, you know what? We're going to turn these off today for about 6 hours. We're going to spend some time as a family and watch what happens. For real. You'll watch little junkies walking around in circles doing this kind of crap. I'm not joking. It's identical to everybody I ever saw on any other drug waiting for the dope man to show up. It's sad but true. It's sad but true. Do you think you're an addict? That's the most important question you can ask yourself. Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, everybody defines it differently. Right? How the hell do you define it? Here's an easy one for you. If you stop doing what you're doing for about 4 or 5 days, you think you can pull that off? Because if you don't, I promise you have a problem. You know what, Robin? I hate migraines too. I really do. And it bums me out that my kid has got one. But thoughts and prayers with Spanky. Yeah, didn't have a cell phone until after high school, says Jeremy Fowler. Turns kids into zombies. Can you argue that? Can you? I mean, look, how many times you walk into a mall and see this, right? People walking around the mall, you can't even see their faces, right? Or at dinner. I remember going out to a great restaurant when I was in Bug Tussle, and I was sitting across from my girlfriend, and we were eating, and the people at the table next to us were, I would say, close to my age, maybe a little bit younger. So they weren't kids by any stretch. And it was a man and a woman, and they were sitting at this table, and both of them were like this. And I said to Quibbs, well, can you imagine? I mean, honestly, if you get to that point, guess what? This friggin' thing is addicting. And it's not an accident. The guys in Silicon Valley talked about it. You know what we need? A dopamine hit. Do you realize that the dopamine hit, that phrase was coined by people in Silicon Valley when talking about what? Facebook. No joke. They knew, and I mean knew. This has been studied. There have been reports on it. They talked about it in Congress. They knew that what they were building was addicting. They absolutely knew that what they were building was addicting, and that the closest addiction to it was blow, right? The Bolivian marching powder, stuff you put up your beak. Good for you, Caitlin. You know, a lot of times with grass, people have an easier time. Just keeping it real. That's a substance that most people right? There's no blanket statements. But most people seem to control that better than a lot of the other stuff, especially the hard stuff. It's last time you were at the airport, you saw a Homeland Security uniform. Well, that's good. This is the ultimate question, is it not? Am I addicted? And what makes somebody an addict? Here's my definition of it, right? It's the one that resonated best with me. Absolutely love this, right? This is the one that it's when you continue to do something, right? Or take something, because it could be a habit or it could be a substance, but you continue to do it in spite of the fact that it is destroying your life, right? There are huge red flags that say, stop doing this, like you've been arrested 4 times in 6 months, right? Any other thing you're doing, you'd go, holy crap, right? If it was playing darts and every time you went to play darts, you got arrested, you'd say, I'm not playing darts ever again, right? I'm giving this game up. Well, that's all right, Gail. Here's the thing. I have found, and then I'll just briefly, I have found that everybody is fascinated by prison stories. And the reason they are is because there's a life that people are living just to the side, right? There's this whole world, and it has its own language, it has its own rules, it has its own politics, right? And it's fascinating to take a look at it. And then when you throw in the fact that it's usually incredibly violent, right? It does make for fascinating stories to hear how people live like that. You know, looking back on it, it still freaks me out. It really does. It's an ugly place. You know, it's an ugly place. The war on drugs, you may not win the war on drugs. Win the battles. Keep your kid out of prison, right? Keep your grandkids out of prison. Prayers to those who need them. I choose to stay away from friends this weekend. Sucks, but I need to. You know what? I don't think it sucks. I know it's probably a bummer to not be around your friends, but you got any idea the self-awareness it takes for somebody to say, if I go out with these people, bad things are going to happen to me? That is incredible stuff. Seriously, pat yourself on the back. You should be stoked. You really should. That kind of self-awareness, most people don't get until, well, I haven't quite got it yet. I mean, for real, I struggle with self-awareness. A lot of people do. You know what? I like that. I like that. I would rather my family remembers me through music than objects. I like that. So the question becomes this. So she's referring to prison. I don't know how people go through that. Well, there's a good chance that a bunch of you that are hearing this are in prison too. And I'm not being funny, and I'm not just playing on this, because I remember like it was yesterday hanging out with Q, and we were in a unit that was just for Unicor workers, right? Everybody in there worked at the factory, everybody. So it was a much different unit because everybody got a paycheck. So there was nobody in there that was broke, and you worked all day with these people, and then you went home and hung out with them. So it was like an around the clock kind of a thing, but they didn't bust the chops of black guys and white guys hanging out. We could sit down at the same table kind of thing. I mean, that's about as far as you could go. If they caught me eating with them, they'd probably stab me, but just stupid stuff. But I was sitting there with them one day, and we were on the top tier. It's like a big square, and they got poles, about 4 of them, and they got televisions on them, right? People listen through their headphones, so you don't hear anything, but we're looking down on a group of people that were on the other side, and they were wasted. There must have been 8 or 9 of them that were doing this one. I mean, just nodding the hell out, right? Playing head tennis. And I remember saying to Q, I'm like, man, those people are going to get busted. That is such a bust. You know what I mean? Look at him. And he says to me, boy, those poor bastards. And I said, hey, they're happy. I'm like, they got their crap and they're happy. And he goes, oh, no, they're not happy. He said, you are more free than they are. And the people on the street, right, who are doing the dope the way they are, it's a prison of your own making. And it's the worst prison. Honest to God, it's the absolute worst prison. This is going to sound crazy, but when I got out of prison this last time, I met with a probation officer. The probation officer said to me, you have to go to 90 meetings in the next 90 days. It doesn't matter whether it's AA or NA, but you have to go to 90 of them in 90 days, and you got to get the paper signed. right? Every time I've done this, I've relapsed at those meetings. There are so many people just like me. I don't want to be there. I'm court ordered there, right? I don't want to be there, and I'm sober, but I don't want to be around all of these other people that used. But he said, well, you're court ordered. You're going to have to go to this. So I said, no joke. Yeah, you can take me back. And he said, you think I'm kidding? I said, I don't think you're kidding in the slightest. Yeah, I don't think you're kidding in the slightest. I said, but listen to me, because I'm not kidding. I would rather be in prison sober than on the street wasted. It's the truth. So, and he said, you need to come up with a different plan then. And you're looking at it. This was plan B, people. The Lifeboat was plan B. Since getting sober, I'm full of anxiety about everything. Get out of my head and I get out of my head and into my hands. It helps. So I'm doing some English paper, piercing. All right. I love it. Keeping the hands busy, right? Keeping yourself busy is absolutely one of the keys to remaining sober. I promise you. You want to blow your sobriety really quickly? Sit down with nothing to do. Just sit in a room and do nothing. Give yourself about an hour and a half. It'll be over. I promise you, especially if it's early on. You have got to kill the ants, right? When you're first trying to get sober, you have these thoughts, this monologue that never shuts up in your head, right? So when that's happening, we call them ants, automatic negative thoughts, acronym, ants. And the ants say, you're wasting your time. Seriously, how many times have we tried to do this? You're going to end up using again anyway. So why the hell are you getting sick, right? Just do it. You always end up doing this. So what's the point? What's the point of getting sick and going through this, man? You know, you could get well with one call. Dude owes you money. You should call him. And this crap, I just sprayed water all over myself. This goes on until you stop it. And you stop automatic negative thoughts by putting thoughts in yourself. You have to change the game plan, right? You have to completely come up with a way to make yourself think about something else. And for me, my first go-to always is leave wherever the hell you're at. If you start getting cravings and you're sitting in your home or your apartment or wherever, right? Walk outside for a few minutes. For real. Because when you walk outside, what happens? All of your senses get bombarded, right? Literally bombarded. Now you're looking at all of these things that are going by. You're listening to birds chirping. There's the wind in the trees that's rustling. Right? Everywhere you look, you're seeing something you weren't seeing earlier. You're smelling, you're hearing. It's just an amazing bombarding of everything. And even if you're trying to keep that automatic negative thought, you're sitting there and you're looking at things and cars are going by and you're like, was that the new Toyota? Right? It's that ugly truck that Tesla makes. There's always something pulling your eye in a different direction. It's a huge thing. You may not think it is. If you think I'm wrong, you know what I would recommend? Spend about 3 years in a room the size of a walk-in closet. I promise you, the most difficult thing in the world is to stare at four walls, right? It's awful. And we can do it in our own house all of the time. KP, proud of you. You should be proud of yourself. You should be proud of yourself. Yes. This is the official participation trophy of the Lifeboat. You won't find that any other place, people. You know why? Because there's only one Lifeboat. Yeah, since getting sober, I'm full of anxiety about everything. You got to get out of your head. You got to get out of your head, right? Everybody, you got to. Walking outside's great. If you can't, sometimes we cannot do that. Then use this devil device, right? And call up one of your 5 friends. And don't do the, hey, how you doing? Oh, you know what? Tell them why you're calling instantly. Hey, I'm craving, man. I'm having cravings. Right now, like I'm thinking about using right now. Your friend is not going to hang up on you. I promise. Your friend's going to go, no kidding. What can I do? Now, hopefully you're smart enough to call someone, right, who's in recovery. And then you won't have to worry about that question. You know, people say all the time I get emails. I can't do the 5 thing. Like I want somebody to be able to call, but I couldn't help anybody. I don't know how the hell I would help anybody. I don't have any answers to any of that. You don't need any answers, right? You're missing the point. What makes it work is connection, right? Connect with somebody. Call somebody. They don't need answers. They need questions. Really? How you doing? Huh? You're struggling? Tell me what's going on. What time did this start? Were you journaling last night? Yeah. Did you share this with anybody in your family? Okay, you haven't used yet, right? Okay. Have you gone outside? Have you changed your environment? Have you done anything to get your body engaged in life? Because as we start to get in our own heads, our shoulders roll forward, our head starts going down, we change everything. Our physiology changes, our psychology changes. Everything goes to, right? And quickly. And quickly. So you need an instant change, right? You have to be able to get your head into another place. And I'll tell you something. The term go to a happy place, oh, I used to hate that. I used to hate that. I thought that is the dumbest thing anyone's ever said. I don't have a happy place, man. There is no happy place for me. Oh, there is. There is. You have to find that place. And I'm not kidding. When the ants first start coming on, if I'm someplace where I can't make a phone call and I can't leave the room, right? You say, how would that possibly happen? Well, if you're in a car and you didn't bring your phone, or you're in a car and it's cramped quarters with some people that maybe aren't family, and you don't want to make that call in front of people where you say, hey, I'm thinking of using, man. Can't get the syringe out of my head. Can you help me? Sometimes you just don't want to put that kind of stuff on blast. So you got to sit in that car 20 minutes, right? Before you get somewhere where you can get outside and start to get some air in your lungs. I go to a happy place. I think of times in my life that were so freaking happy that nothing, when I think about them, they're just life-changing. And most of them either involve my father or my son. Right? The early days with Spanx Calhoun, I can go back to those. And if I start going down that rabbit hole, I will be a different human being. That two things cannot occupy the same place at the same time, right? You could not put anything else there. Not possible. In order to put something else there, I would have to remove this, right? It's physics. I don't remember there's a word for that. It's somebody's law or some crap. But two things can't occupy the same space. I think we can agree with that. It's the exact same thing in your dome, right? You're going to allow automatic negative thoughts to get you to screw up and relapse, right? And again, people are listening going, I don't have a drug problem. You don't think people without drug problems relapse? Huh? How many times have you said, you know what, I'm going on a diet. I want to lose 35 pounds before swimsuit season, right? And you start that process, and about, 14 days in, what do? You don't quit. No, that's easy, right? You relapse. Don't BS. It's a food addiction. That's what gets us to a position where we all feel like we need to lose a little weight, correct? Horton Fissel, my friend, I'm glad that the city is helping. I think you occasionally need to put your feet up, my man. Like, occasionally, you need to put your feet up. He's a hardworking dude, really hardworking dude. Hope you take some me time. I say that for everybody. It's something I struggle with mightily. It's something I mightily struggle with. I have been so sick in the last 2 days. There are people on the boat that have been here a long time. Do any of you remember the last time I missed 2 days in a row? I mean, it's not something that happens very often. I was really, really hating it. I really was. Jeremy Fowler, I love this. I really do. I love this. Exercise is my most common relapse. I have a hard time sticking to it. You know what? Saying it out loud and putting a name to it. Hey, Dana, that is literally the start. Right? That is the start. The problem with working out, and I've been through this, right? I'm not Mr. America, I promise you, right? I'm not. But if you leave prison and you don't have a 6-pack abs, then you didn't do anything in prison because you got all kinds of time. Like everybody goes in there and works out until they're happy with how their body looks. But I struggled really hard because my goals were always the end product, right? I want abs. That's my goal, right? I'm going to lose 60 pounds and turn it all into muscle. That's my goal. I'm never going to hit that. I don't achieve those kind of goals. It doesn't work for me. I got to bite that thing off, right? How do you eat an entire elephant, right? One bite at a time. And if what you're embarking on, right, start out really small, man. Honestly, Jeremy, you know what I started out doing? I was in the joint and I started out doing push-ups. And I would just do 3 sets of 5. That was all I could do. And by the time I was leaving there, I was probably doing 700 push-ups a day, right? Something you really, really start to get into. But if I had started on day one and I said, my goal is to be able to do 700 push-ups a day, when I can only bang out 15, I'd have quit. Because the difference between 15 and 700 is insurmountable. There ain't no way to pull that off. It's a bummer. Nobody likes going and working out every day until you do, right? Until you do. And it's such a dumb thing to say, but it's so real, I have to say it. If you do something every single day for a long enough period of time, it becomes a habit, right? It becomes a habit. Horton Thistle says, I broke my back in 2 places years ago. Sometimes it puts me down bad. You know what? I feel for you, and I say that from the bottom of my heart. I have broken my back only once, but I broke my C6 vertebrae a couple of times. When your back is not cooperating, it is a kind of pain that simply cannot be explained to anybody that's not been there. It's an awful, awful thing. And I'm happy as hell that this boat is a resource for you, my friend. I really am. And you know what? From the very first day that you showed up here, Morton Thistle, you made the boat a better place. Hello, Aaron Card. I mean that, Morton. You're a great dude, man. I'm really happy you're here. So you're doing 10 every morning right now, right out of bed. Been working it so far. Perfect. Perfect. And you know what? It's like harm reduction. It's like the people that say, man, I can't quit that stuff. There's no way. I drink a fifth a day. Really? That's 32 shots. Can you do 30 tomorrow? Huh? For real. You're drinking a fifth. Can we take 2 shots off? Knock 2 shots off of that. Because that's harm reduction. You know, like, that's stupid. It makes no difference. You know what difference it makes? The person that did it just set a goal and achieved it. That's a huge deal. That's a huge deal, because we're not used to setting goals and achieving them. We're failures, right? Professionally, I am. I don't know about the rest of you. I was a failure in everything that I did. Everything I did. I'm not anymore. I am not anymore. I am absolutely a person that sets really small goals. And they're on the way to something massive, right? They're always on the way to something massive. I still want to do those 700 push-ups. But this week, I only want to take it up 1 push-up per set, right? So you go from 3 sets of 5 to 3 sets of 6. And then when the next week comes around, you realize that wasn't all that hard, and you really wasn't pushing you. So you bump it up 3. And the next thing you know, you're doing 10, but you've set goals and you've achieved them. If that doesn't resonate with you, if you don't realize why that is a massive thing, you've got to believe me when I tell you it is. You have got to believe me. John Allen, 14 months clean and sober, man. How good is it when you're into the 2nd year? Isn't that a great thing? John, congratulations. You know what? The boat has helped a lot of people. I love hearing it. I never, ever get tired of hearing that the boat helps people. You guys are fantastic. You know that. I mean, here's the thing, and I'm not putting myself down. I promise you I'm not. But it has been established that if I could get Squirrel to sit in front of this camera for about an hour and a half, the chat does most of the heavy lifting on this boat. The chat has so much life experience in it, right? There are so many people here that have so many years of addiction and sobriety and overeating and dieting and everything you could possibly wrap your dome around. If it's got something to do with addiction, a millennium worth of experience with people on the boat. And they're happy to use that experience to help people in any way, right? For real. I'm battling a sugar addiction. Iced coffee is my problem right now. May as well be drinking a milkshake. Oh, I get it. That's how I drank coffee like that for a very long time. And you need that. The great thing about that, right? The great thing about that, Paula D. Pedley, is that this is probably the best setup on earth for harm reduction, right? You don't have to tell us, but let's say hypothetically, let's say you're belting out, I don't know. Let's say you're doing 7 teaspoons of sugar into that iced coffee. Think you could do 6 tomorrow, right? Maybe not. Honestly, I don't know. Could you do 5.5? Start backing off. start backing off to it. And I'm not a big fan of any artificial sweeteners. Tell everybody that right now. I'm not. Our body reacts to how sweet it is, and it thinks it's getting sugar even when it's not. And you end up with this crashing cycle. I am absolutely opposed to sugar substitutes. It's a personal thing. You guys can do whatever you want. But the reason I'm not suggesting that Paula switches to stevia or one of those other things is because I trust God more than I trust the people down at the petrochemical factories that are making that stuff. I'll stick with God. But harm reduction, it's right there for you. You can just start backing off a little bit, right? Just a little bit. The biggest complaint that people have as far as getting sober medical assisted treatment is that eventually they have to get off Suboxone. What a difficult thing it is. And it's a difficult thing because they want to do it all in one bite. And I understand, right? It's that goal. I want to be chemical free. Okay, I love that. Do you want to be a junkie? Because if you quit this stuff in a week, you're going to be back on the other in 2. These days, they're recommending that you go somewhere between 3 and 5 years before you start thinking about getting off of it. Dunkin' caramel syrup. Okay. Same thing, Paula Pendley. Same thing, right? I use those really disgustingly sugary sweet creamers, right? I do. I'm guilty of it. In fact, sometimes I drink creamer and I put a little coffee in it to take the edge off. So back off a little on the liquid. You follow me? Start backing off a little on the liquid. You can do this, Paula Pendley. I promise you. Even if it's Dunkin' caramel sugar, you've got this. Am I right assuming the majority of addicts will most likely replace it with a sugar addiction, at least in the early days when getting clean? You betcha. Not everybody, but a lot of people do exactly that. And you'll hear people say, especially the people who have the same addiction that I did, the H, you'll hear people all the time say, oh yeah, they're always sugar fiends. And I've heard doctors who have theories. I heard a doctor that say that particular opiate makes it hard for your body, for your brain to get glucose. So it's your body telling you what you need. I don't know any of that. But I knew that when I was a practicing junkie, I would put sugar in orange juice in the morning. How disgusting is that? I would put sugar in OJ and stir it up, and that's how I started my breakfast. I dislike the taste and aftertaste of sugar substitutes. I do too. Cindy G says, diabetic here. I was told those substitutions for sugar, if I had to for myself, but never feed it to my children. Hospital staff educating me. I like the idea of anyone educating anybody. I really do. And I love the idea that you're not giving that stuff to your kids. Really. Some of them are so dangerous. I've done shows on it. You could go back and watch. I've done a bunch of shows on it. And on sugar, I used to say it's the biggest addiction on the planet. I always said, sugar is the biggest addiction out there. This is now the biggest addiction. Every one of us are addicted to it to some level, to some degree. William Burroughs said either methadone or Suboxone was the worst withdrawal ever. He said methadone. Yep. Man who wrote Naked Lunch, and he knew a little something about it, as did I. I kicked methadone in prison. I got arrested. When I did, we were drinking methadone out of wine glasses. Somebody I know really, really well, whose name shall remain anonymous, managed to steal like a gallon of this stuff off the back of a truck that was being delivered to a methadone clinic. And we were drinking methadone out of wine glasses. We were probably doing 300 or 400 milligrams a day. It was absolutely insane. We would nod out on methadone. I mean, like just wasted. And I got arrested. We were on probably the third court bottle that we had been going through. So I'd been on it for probably a month or two. It was absolutely awful. And so when I got busted, I knew I was going to go to prison. There was no way I wasn't. So when I figured there was probably going to be dope in prison, and I was so sick. There wasn't anything in the county jail because you're on lockdown. So when I went there for the arraignment, I said, I'm going to plead guilty. And she said, it doesn't work like that. You plead not guilty because you have a right to a pre-sentence investigation and all that stuff. I went, miss me with all that shit. I would like you to sentence me today. I know I need to go to prison. Let's do this. And the crazy thing is, she thought that I was being one of those stand-up cats. You know what I mean? Like I was taking responsibility and all of that. She didn't give me any less time, but she was sure happy about it. And I did. So I ended up down at prison very, very quickly, right? But I'm not joking. 6 months. I am not kidding you. It was 6 months, and every bit of 6 months before I was completely off the crap. And I had the best stomach I ever had in my life because I would vomit for the first probably 30 minutes of the day, and then I would dry heave for about another hour, which is just the greatest crunches for your stomach that you could possibly do. Hello, Debbie Blair. Yeah, Dana S. It's a wicked, wicked withdrawal. Wicked withdrawal. Yeah, you know what? No shame whatsoever. No shame whatsoever. Hey, Nick, good to see you, buddy. We don't do shame here. I think you'll dig that. We're not big on the shame thing at all. Doesn't pay off, man. It's a terrible emotion, complete and utter waste of time. It really is. I mean, accountability, right? Taking accountability for yourself, all of that stuff's important, right? But having people around you shame you, it's the reason that this kind of stuff works, right? It's the reason that this kind of stuff where addicts of all kinds get together and talk about addiction, this is the gold standard for all kinds of treatment. And there's a reason for that, right? Use me as an example again, because it's I'm just a great example, but with heroin, right? It's one of those substances that makes you leave everything in your life behind. Literally, it gets to a point where everything. Hold on one second. My eldest sister, rest in peace, was a drug addict. She couldn't shake. 1998 claimed her life. I am so sorry, Gail. I am so sorry. The number of people that we have lost in this has just been horrific. It really has. And just in our country, we've crested the 1 million mark. 1 million people. I mean, can you wrap your brain around that? I have ADHD, treated it through huge amounts of sports and dance. I was injured and started to spend money like crazy. It's still an addiction, even though it's not a crime. It's still an addiction. You're damn right it is. And I appreciate you saying it out loud. It's a great thing. There are a lot of people on the boat who share your addiction. And it is a difficult one to beat. And it's a difficult one to beat because there's not the stigma that there is with heroin, right? There's not the same stigma there is with any of the hard drugs that are on the street or alcohol. Like to say to somebody, you know, I'm an alcoholic, people go, oh man, you know, that's tough. It really is. That's tough. But if you say I'm addicted to shopping or I'm addicted to spending money, they go, quit spending money, right? The reason you got to come here. It's like I was saying before I got sidetracked. The reason that Tommy, your point of view, sorry people, I will get back to it, I promise. What would define what an addiction is? It's when you continue to do a substance or a habit, right? You continue to do it in the face of a billion reasons to quit. One bad thing after another happens because of the chemical. You start drinking all of the time, right? And you get your first DWI. You're not going to do any time on it, right? You're not in any trouble really for the first DWI. It's inconvenient as hell, right? But if you took the test on the side of the road and all that, you're not going to lose your license. So the first one, it's just stupid, right? I'm not going to do that again. I just won't get behind the wheel, right? It's not a problem. I just won't get behind the wheel. And then one night you do, and you get your second DWI, and you say to yourself, you know what, man? I had spent all of my money. I tried calling Uber and the guy didn't come. This was just, I was a victim of circumstance, right? Now you can't drive anymore. And you're taking buses to go places, right? And your boss says to you one morning, have you been drinking? And you said, no, I would never drink before I came to work. Well, you smell really bad like you're drinking. Then they breathalyze you and you actually blow dirty in spite of the fact that you weren't drinking that morning because you got so shiffazed the night before, right? Now you've lost a job. You got a couple of DWIs. You would think anybody logical would say, hey, this stuff, this liquid crap, I'm not drinking any more of this. Stuff is awful, man. I'm never doing this again. But that is not what an addict does. With all of the reason on earth to stop, an addict just continues to use. Wharton Thistle, I am so sorry. Wharton says, my dad took his life when I was 6. I was sleeping beside him that night. I'm 67 now. I remember you telling us this before. I cannot imagine, and I literally mean I cannot imagine. Yadira, thank you. It's there's a reason the cat's name is Squirrel. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason that the cat's name is Squirrel. I do tend to squirrel all over the place, but that is my definition of addiction, and that is why it doesn't matter to me if you're addicted to smack or blow or weed or booze or shopping, right? Or video games or your phone. Any of these things. It's the exact same stuff. We're all in the same boat, which is why this is called the lifeboat. We're all in the same boat. It doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter what your substance is. It really doesn't. Yeah. Being here has made me realize that it is not just the drugs and the alcohol. It's food. Spending people. I feel like I'm an addict for the dopamine, and it doesn't matter how that comes. This is a real thing for people that get sober, right? This is a real thing for people that get sober. Now we don't do drugs, right? We're off of it. We're not going to do that again, ever. For real. I got out and I said, I'm not doing heroin ever again. This is my life now. There's no way I will do it. And I got so addicted to this thing you cannot imagine. I was at a halfway house, and when I first got there, you could not get a job for like the first month. So you're locked. It's like being in prison, exactly, except it's a very nice prison. I can order DoorDash, but it's still a prison. I cannot go outside. I can't do anything. I was sleeping about 4 hours a night because I was spending 20 hours a day on this. You go a decade without being able to Google something, right? All of the stuff that you thought while you were in there, boy, I wish I could. It all starts at the first phone. It's there, and I'm just going and looking at my brother's YouTube channel. I had never seen it. There was just so much exciting crap. And you know what? It occurred to me. I'm an addict. I'm right back where I started. So I had to try to get off of this. And I didn't. I didn't successfully got it. I did a hell of a lot of harm reduction, but I didn't get down to a point where it was healthy. I am at that point today. I promise you I am. For a guy that does what I do for a living, I spend less time on my phone than anybody I know. Now, doesn't mean I'm not on a computer. Doesn't mean I'm not on, but I don't call people. I'm not texting. There's 2 people, right? 3 people on planet Earth that I'm texting with. It's very easy to get very, very wrapped up and forget that, what you're doing is leading you to a place that is that's negative, right? The funny thing about addiction, and I don't mean funny, right? Yeah, that's right. But the crazy thing about addiction is, if I came to your house and I said, "Hey, my name is Dr. Scoville, and your results came back, and you have adenocarcinoma. We're going to need to start immediately. It's a form of colon cancer. We need to start getting you in for some radiation therapy." You would go, "When can we start?" Right? I'll start on that crap today. When can we start fighting this? If I came and said, same thing, right? I'm the doctor, and you have diabetes. I'm afraid that you definitely have. All right, what do we do? Where do I get insulin? How do I treat this? What can I instantly? I show up and say, "Hey, you know what? you're addicted to drugs. No, I'm not. It's the only disease where when people tell you you have it, they say, F you. No, I'm not. You don't know what you're talking about. You're stupid. You know how many people I know who party way more than I do? Like I do this stuff every once in a while. I got a guy at work that does this crap every single day, and he's been doing that for a decade. That dude's an addict. I'm not an addict. We don't do that with any other disease. Kristen, have a great day. Have a great day. Out there fighting the good fight. She's one of our good ones, you know. She really is. She's out there fighting the good fight and doing as a therapist. I love people that are out there doing that. I have nothing but respect for people that work in that field because it's hard. It really is. It's a hard line of work. But the people that go into it because they're called to it, I think it's amazing. I really do. Yeah, see, and this stuff is real, right? This stuff is absolutely real. I have had some very intrusive things happen with my phone and being cyber stalked, etc. in the past. So I like walking away from it, and I hate being watched by it. Yeah, I every single thing that how you can get screwed over with a phone happened to me in the first 3 or 4 weeks I was there because I lived on it and I was not smart. I didn't know about any of the stuff that people were doing. I was ignorant to a lot. The Lifeboat has finally helped me with somewhere I can address my food addiction. Bad food releases dopamine in my brain, so it's just as hard as anything else to let go of. I know it is. No, actually, it's harder. Promise you. I have found, having worked with now thousands of people, that this is the most difficult of all addictions. And the reason is you can't quit eating. Not a possibility. You cannot quit eating. And it is a part of every single day. It is a part of every single gathering, right? If there's celebration, you're doing it with eating. If it's a birthday, there's going to be cake. Everything we do, there's that food element. And you know, for me, you know, I was 287 pounds was the high that I got to. So I was a big dude. And that's when I've showed that picture before on here. I looked like a house, but I got down to 195 pounds. And I didn't say, I'm going to get to 195 pounds. I said, I'm going to change how I eat. I'm going to completely change my lifestyle and how I eat. And I began to go on intermittent fasting, right? Where I would eat everything I was going to eat in 4 hours. I would eat everything I was going to eat during the day in 4 hours. And then for 20, I would fast. And when I broke the fast, I could eat whatever the hell I wanted. I'm not kidding. I could eat a cake. It didn't matter because if you're only eating 4 hours a day, and the weight fell off of me until it didn't, right? It stopped. It kind of plateaued. And so I gave up, right? Not the diet, but I gave up the intermittent fasting for a week, right? And then I went back on it and it started to drop off again. And I did that like back and forth until I got down to 195, and pretty happy at 195 too. It's my bobbing and weaving weight. I even have an issue when Starbucks comes out with their new cups. I spend $25 on those things and have way too many. So shopping is my new addiction, maybe. Well, here's the deal. There's a very easy way to tell on this, right? There's a very easy way to tell. Just track what you spend over the course of a week. Write down every single thing because it's so easy with a card to forget what the hell we're spending money on. It was life-changing for me when I did this. Life-changing. I came to realize, like, I did the math and I found out if I carried this out for an entire year, I was spending somewhere in the ballpark of $6,000 a year on coffee. Not going to happen. For me, never going to happen again. I do not drink coffee that I buy anywhere. And I don't judge anyone who does, right? But I'm not going to Starbucks. I made them a lot of money and I'm never going back. Thank you for this space. It has made me more compassionate to people in my life and to myself. I love that. I've always been terrified of drugs because I know I have an addict brain. Same with gambling. Yeah, I promise you. And you know, it's odd because I definitely, you know, science will tell you the addictive personality thing doesn't exist. How about that? They're wrong. I'm sorry, they're wrong. I could get addicted to anything. But there was something out there that had my number, right? I basically got addicted to everything that I tried, except the ones you couldn't get addicted to. Right? I did all of the heavy hallucinogenics like LSD and psilocybin, the mushrooms and all that stuff. Can't really get addicted to that, so I didn't. But everything else I did, I had some form of addiction to at some level. And once I found opiates, right? Once I found opiates, it was all over but the crying. It was like, this is exactly what I was waiting on forever, right? This was what made me feel comfortable in my own skin. I wasn't just happy. I was convinced 100% that the best version of me could not be without this substance. I was so much calmer. I was so much more relaxed. I never went off on anybody. I never lost my temper. Nothing could make me mad. I was the most chill dude in the entire world. And I thought, this is the best version of me. And then I came to realize years later that the reason it's like that is because you don't care about, none of those things bother you. You don't care. And it's not such an awful way to live. It really isn't. Not worrying about your problems is great. Not worrying about your kids, it's not so cool. Not worrying about the people that you love, not so cool. And that's where this eventually will take you, plain and simple. Addiction is going to take you to a place where you don't have time to care about family. You don't have time to care about spirituality, God. If you're a believer, that goes out the window. You get to a point where the only thing that you have time for is the substance and whatever you got to do to get it, right? Because that becomes a very big deal. It really does become a very good deal. You're absolutely right, Meg and Jeffrey. They put poison in our food. It should be illegal. There's all kinds of crap in our food that should not be in there. There's no way to argue that. And if you research it, and I recommend you don't, but if you start researching it, you will find out that there is an acceptable amount of certain things that are allowed to go in your food. And if you knew what these things are, it would really bum you out. I was a extreme skier, and was always injured, always. And I took OxyContin for pain. I had a grip of surgeries. You cannot believe how many surgeries. I was always in the process of healing from something, but I'd be healing for 3 weeks and I'd be back out there. It was just, the skiing was an addiction. And believe it or not, I didn't know I was addicted to these. I didn't. I had no clue. I thought addiction, right? And I know this sounds so stupid, but I thought addiction was what had happened to me with weed and what had happened to me with everything else, right? That feeling of, oh, I got to do this. That's addiction, right? I didn't realize that I would vomit. I didn't realize that. And the funny thing is, at the end of each season, I would get sick because I'd stop taking the dope. I didn't put two and two together. And it's funny, when you don't know it's dope sick, it's nothing. I promise you. I got through it every year. I mean, I'd complain, oh man, I got the worst flu, what it's doing to my body. I mean, my body's just killing me. As a kid, I talked about it, but I was me cooking dope. I did it every season at the end of ski season. Just didn't know better. And then I was seeing a pain specialist because this had progressed, and I was getting 12 OxyContin 80s a day from a doctor. On top of that, I had medication for breakout pain, morphine sulfate in liquid that tasted like cherry or grape with an eyedropper that you put underneath your tongue. And then if none of that worked, the ripcord was preloaded syringes full of Demerol. I think 5 is what we got, like 5 of them. But this is what I was getting from a pain specialist, because at the time, we had this belief that nobody should have to feel pain at any level. We believed that everybody should be entitled to a life free of pain, any kind of pain. Now, I don't know how realistic that is. It would be lovely. I'd love for everybody to live without pain. The trouble is, they were taking a medication that they believed had a 4% chance of you getting addicted. 4 out of every 100 people, right, that were doing oxys were going to get addicted to it. What could possibly go wrong? Well, that wasn't the truth, right? We talked about this on many other shows, but the way that they got away with claiming that it was a 4% is they quoted the famous Porter Glick study on opiates, more specifically the substance in OxyContin, right? Which is the same stuff that is in all it is a Percocet, right? It's oxycodone. It's oxycodone time released. The contin, right? That end of that was just the Sackler's family of the Sackler family way of distributing that substance over the course of like 12 hours, right? The number was closer to 20% of the people that took that got addicted to it. And it may have even peaked higher than that. But as it was on the way up, and they told the guy running the company, the head Sackler, the head Sackler is shit in charge, that fool at the top that honestly was responsible for the deaths of, at this point, probably close to 1 million people. It's pretty disgusting. But when they came in and said to him, the numbers are coming back and it's not 4%. It's closer to like 17. And allegedly his response was, really? I thought it would be higher. This is a kind of evil that you can't wrap your brain around. I've done shows on this family. Anna Morosa! It has been a long time. Pleasure to see you. Always great when people pop back in. Hope you're doing well. I really do. Hope you're doing fantastic. I always love that. Oh no. Oh no. Just finished getting complaints with the IRS for not filing for 10 years. That was the biggest area I worried about. So I'm on my way. You have an opportunity to settle that. And there are attorneys that you can talk to. I got caught for an amazing amount of money that I had not paid taxes on as a public speaker. And I hired an attorney. And when I settled, I think we paid 7 cents on the dollar. True story. It's worth getting an attorney for this kind of thing. Been clean the whole time, going on 6 months. Anna Morosa. Woo-hoo-hoo. Congratulations. Could not be happier for you, huh? 6 months. It's a half a year. You're winning. Winning. Fantastic. Could not be happier. That is great, man. That's great. So yeah, isn't it great when the biggest area that you're freaked out about, nothing left to worry about. It's not going to sneak up on you now, right? It's not going to sneak up on you now. Let's put that up there because it looks so good. Oh, Motherbird63 says, I was taking 30 plus Norcos a day. I was prescribed it because I was born with severe scoliosis. It became an addiction and I was buying more on the streets on top of my prescription. Yeah, I've been down that road. So the Norco, for those who are not hip to all the opiates, Norcos is on the same level as like a Vicodin, right? Hydrocodone. It's an entry level pain medication. It's still heroin in a pill. It's just not to the extent that OxyContin is, right? Or any of the other ones. But it's a very, very addicting substance. I'll tell you what, Motherbird, you know the scary thing about 30 Norcos a day is how much acetaminophen you were taking in. I did that too. I used to take unbelievable 14 at a time, throw them in your mouth, chew them up and swallow them, right? And then go play golf. I did it all the time. I was buying them in like pillow size things of pills. But it's the acetaminophen that really starts to scare the hell out of you. Nobody should ever take that much acetaminophen. The reason it's in there is as an anti-inflammatory, right? Which they need to be sure. But it's a dangerous thing to have that much of it. Hold on 1 second. I got to get back and find out what it is you asked. Bear with me, people. Bear with me. Oh, what started my journey into drugs? Is that what you're asking? I asked because I have rheumatoid arthritis and take endone in small amounts, 10 milligrams a day, but never get into other drugs, especially with what happened to my sister. So I I started out on pain meds, and once I became addicted to it, I went to the pain specialist, and I was getting huge amounts. My insurance was paying for it. And then at one point, my insurance went, "That's a wrap. You're done. We're not giving you any more of them. You can go to the same doctor, and she can write you a prescription for something else, but you cannot get that." So they put me on methadone for 300 milligrams a day. And I didn't want to take methadone. I wanted to get high. Truth be told, I wanted to get high. So I began to, first I snorted heroin in a bottle, sprayed it up your nose. I was told it was Stadol. And then I smoked it off tinfoil, and I was told it was opium. And then the next thing you know, my life began to do this one. And it takes a while. When you first start doing it, it doesn't seem like it's anything but great. Right? It doesn't seem like it's anything but great. Tramadol, pain pills. I cannot talk to you intelligently about tramadol. I can't. I've never taken it. Amazingly, I've never taken it. I know people in prison that did. I always assumed it was probably a real kind of low rent painkiller, because if they're allowing it to be handed out in the joint, it's usually not something like a Norco or a hydrocodone. But there is a huge difference between getting high and pain relief. There's absolutely a huge difference. You want to know what it is? So here's how it works. When you take pain medication, the pain medication goes to the pain, takes care of it, right? So let's say you got 10 units of pain and you took 10 units of painkiller. The two of them just cancel each other out. I was taking 60 units of painkiller for my 10 units of pain. Now those numbers don't exist, but I'm giving it as an illustration. You follow? I learned that if I took more of this, I mean, it wasn't like I didn't have the injuries. My medical file's that thick, right? I have the greatest medical file in the world. If I wanted to go get high, I can walk into any pain specialist in the country, and with my jacket, with my file, they're going to give me basically anything. But I absolutely was, and I started out just killing the pain. And then I remember the first time that it occurred to me that, oh my goodness, this really is a drug. I quit before the end of the season, like I always did. Right at the end of the season, I quit. But I had about maybe 15 or 20 of those puppies still in the bottle, and they just sat there, and I got a headache. And I didn't get headaches and, like migraines. This is a new thing for me. I never got those. So I had a headache, and it was starting to get bad. So I used to take 4 of these things, right, at a time for, it was for knees at the moment. But so I threw 4 back, and I'm telling you, about 3 minutes after I took them, my headache was gone. So it wasn't from the pills. The headache just went away. Now I have no pain to treat at all. And I just put 4 pain pills into my body. And oh boy. I remember thinking to myself, this is how I want to feel forever. Hey, Gail, good to see you. I appreciate that. And I am doing better. I really am. I am doing better. But yeah. Well, I was treating pain. I was treating pain until I found out that it treats all kinds of pain, right? I was knocking out knee pain, but I found out it took away spiritual pain. I found out it took away emotional pain. It took away every pain that I had ever felt. Right? I remember a person very important to me in my life passing away. And I remember talking about it with family members. And this person was very, very important in my life. And we were talking about the funeral was going to be in a different state. And everyone was leaving early the following morning, and they were all meeting as a family. And I didn't have enough dope. I needed 15 to 20 bags a day. So I was going to have to go pick up about a week and a half worth of this stuff. And that's a pile of money, which I didn't have. And I remember looking at my family and saying, I'm not going to go. And that the realization that this is what it turns you into did not hit me for years until I was sober for years. But that I didn't just stay home. I stayed home, and 4 days later, I flew to Hungary on business. And I flew to Hungary with enough tar to probably last me 2 months. Of course, I did it all in 9 days, but I had a huge pile of it. I used to fly with it all the time. Just stupid. Yeah. Yeah, your sister used not for the physical pain, but for emotional stuff that happened to her. Well, most people, that's what most people do. And when they find out that that pain can be put away, when they find out that that pain will be done, then it's a wrap. It's a very difficult thing to have that kind of pain removed from you, and then say, tomorrow I'm gonna let all of that, the feeling that has been like lingering over me my whole life, I'm gonna take that back. I didn't like that being gone. This is why journaling is something I beat the crap out of. That's why I always talk about journaling, because for me, getting sober wasn't good enough. There's a big difference between sober and recovery, right? I had gotten sober before in my life, never made it more than a couple of weeks. But sober is the dearth, right? Having no intoxicant in your system. That's sober. I sure as hell wasn't recovered, right? Not even close. But I was able, once I got sober, once I had the chemicals out of my body, and stay out of my body for a couple of months. Have a great day, Cindy. Thanks for sharing your morning with us. You know what, people? I probably need to bring this to an end. It is 11 o'clock here I'm on Mountain Time, even though I'm almost always usually on Pacific Time. We don't celebrate daylight savings. We don't. What's the right word? We don't put up with that crap. I don't know. We don't we don't fall back or spring forward or any of that other stuff. We just leave it the way it is. Lisa Trimble, there you are. How are you, my friend? I hope that you're doing well. Participate, observe. By the way, I had to journal to find out what I was killing, right? I came to realize that the opiates, they took away. They never give you anything, right? I used to think, they give you courage. As a public speaker, you walk out on stage, no butterflies, no nothing, just walk out, no problem. It doesn't give you courage. It takes away fear, right? It sounds like the same thing. It's not. It gives nothing. It always takes away. And in the beginning, it does take away stuff that sucks. It takes away fear, it takes away discomfort, it takes away anger, it takes away suffering, right? Memories from the past, takes all that away. And then it starts to take away your health. And then it starts to take away your relationships, right? Then it starts to take your veins. And then when it takes all of the money that you got, it takes your integrity. And you either sell yourself, or you go out and steal stuff, or you do something to come up with the $700 a day that you got to keep putting in your arm. And when it has taken everything and there's literally nothing left it can take, it takes your freedom, right? It takes your freedom. And funny that the trouble is that when I got stabbed, they put me in solitary confinement, right? Nobody could get near my cell. I could not get any more dope. And that was the beginning of the end for that friggin' substance, right? Seriously, payback, the ability to beat that stuff. I was left alone in a prison cell with God for about 28 days. And when I left there, I wanted to get sober. I didn't have the tools, but I wanted to get sober. And Q showed up, because when the student is ready, I got the greatest teacher in the world. I got the greatest teacher in the world who worked with me tirelessly and with patience that no one else would put up with, because I'm a jerk, especially freshly sober. Oh, God, I was a jerk. But I remember when I was done and I was sober, and now I'm in recovery. Now I'm recovering. I know what it is I'm trying to kill. I know what from my past is why I was doing dope. Like I came to that revelation while journaling, and now life was completely different. And I remember before it was right before I left Q, not before I left prison, because I had to ship out to a different prison to go home from. So it was about a year before I went home. I was talking to Q, and I was thanking him, and we were talking about things. And I said, it's almost scary, that I'm going to go out in the world. And I said, honestly, I don't have a clue what I'm going to do or anything else. And he said, you're gonna kick the shit out of Shiva, which is what they call tar inside Shiva. He's like, you're gonna kick the crap out of Shiva. You're gonna go fight addiction. Right? The fight's not over just because you got clean. He did. He absolutely did. He absolutely did. He's a black guy in a federal prison working with a white guy. That's frowned upon. It's frowned upon by his people. It's frowned upon by my people. It was bad. Gail says, I cannot imagine being locked up for 28 days alone. Oh, goodness. Are you kidding? I did 180 days alone. Did 6 months on solitary. And you know what? It wasn't that bad. Honestly, it was not that bad. It's a big no-no for sure, but he did it. He did it. And if he didn't, you'd be doing something else with your morning. I promise I would not have been here without that black dude deciding to work with this white cat. That's why I'm here. So, you can toss out his name the next time you pray. Throw one in there for Q. Before the end of this year, he's going to get a shot. He's going to get a shot at getting back into court. And yeah. All right, people. I will be back tomorrow and we will hang out. I promise you. Between now and the next time I run into you, reach out and try to save somebody. Where you at, Squirrel Nut Zipper? Oh, I saw her a minute ago. All right, people. I will see you on the next one. Thank you for spending your morning with me. I do appreciate it. It's fun when we got a small crew, isn't it? All right, people. See you on the next one.